You know that moment? It's New Year's Eve. The final seconds are ticking away. And then that one song starts to play. It doesn't matter if you're in Times Square or a tiny pub in New Zealand, the whole world seems to join in on this one melody about friendship and old times.
But here's a question for you. We all know the song, right? But do we really know the man who wrote it? Or the fact that every single year, millions of people around the globe throw a massive party just for him? Well, let's find out.
So yeah, it all kicks off with that one unforgettable tune.
That song is Auld Lang Syne, which comes from Old Scots and basically means for old time's sake. And the man who gave it to the world, that was Robert Burns, a farmer's son who would become Scotland's most famous poet. But to really get why he matters so much, you've got to go right back to the beginning.
Because long before he was a legend, he was simply known as the Ploughman poet.
His life was so short, but man, did it burn brightly. Born in 1759, he was already writing poetry when he was just 15. By 27, his first book of poems made him an overnight star. And then, just 10 years later, at only 37, he was gone. His whole life was this incredible whirlwind of hard work, big love, and a totally revolutionary way with words. You see, Burns wasn't some fancy lord writing from a castle. He was the son of tenant farmers. His hands were calloused from working the fields. And that's exactly why his poetry was so powerful. He wrote about real life, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the gritty, and he gave a powerful voice to everyday people in a time when, honestly, nobody was really listening to them.
And this line just says it all. You've probably heard it before. It even inspired the title of John Steinbeck's novel, Of Mice and Men. It comes from a poem he wrote after he accidentally destroyed a mouse's nest with his plow. In that one little moment of feeling bad for a tiny animal, he captured this huge universal truth. Life is unpredictable for all of us, no matter who we are. So when he died so young, that incredible voice was suddenly gone. But his friends, the people who loved him, were absolutely determined that his story wasn't over. And their plan to keep his memory alive? Well, it all started with a simple meal.
It all began in 1801. Just 5 years after Burns had died, when a small handful of his best friends, only 9 of them,
decided to meet up in the single, tiny cottage where the poet was born. Right there in that little room, they ate together, they read his poems out loud, and they raised a glass to their friend. That night, they made a promise. They would meet up every single year to celebrate his life and keep his words alive. They had absolutely no idea that they had just started a global tradition. So how in the world did that quiet dinner for 9 friends turn into the massive worldwide party we know today? Okay, let's break down what a modern Burns supper actually looks like. A Burns supper has a kind of flow to it, a script that's full of tradition and a lot of fun. It starts with everyone gathering, a special prayer of thanks is said, and then comes the main event, the grand entrance of the haggis, which is usually brought in while a bagpiper plays. Someone recites a whole poem to the haggis, there are toasts and more poems, and the night always ends with everyone singing Auld Lang Syne. Okay, let's talk about the haggis. For anyone who hasn't tried it, the description can sound a little wild. But honestly, thinking of it as a spiced meatloaf with a nutty texture is spot on. It's rich, it's peppery, it's savory, and trust me, it's the star of the show for a reason. And the haggis definitely does not come alone. The whole menu is this big, hearty feast. You'll often kick things off with a warm soup, then you get the haggis served with neeps and tatties, which is just a fun way of saying mashed turnips and potatoes. For dessert, you might get cranachan, this amazing mix of oats, cream, whiskey, and raspberries, and of course, there's usually a little bit of good Scotch whiskey involved. Now, one of the most fun parts of the night is the toasts. It turns into this hilarious, good-natured battle of the sexes. A man gets up and gives the toasts to the lassies, which is this funny, affectionate speech about women. And then, a woman gets to stand up and give the reply from the lassies, where she gets to fire right back with her own witty comebacks. It's just so playful and perfectly captures the kind of mischievous humor that Burns himself was famous for. So you have to wonder, why has this tradition, which started with just a few friends missing their pal, stuck around for more than 200 years? What is it about Robert Burns that makes us want to celebrate him year in and year out? Well, for starters, his legacy went global. I mean, look at this. You might think it's just a Scottish thing, but no way. The number of Burns clubs and parties in the US, Canada, Australia, all over the world really, is just incredible. His voice really does speak to everyone. And here's the real key. A Burns supper isn't just about the food or the poems. It's a living, breathing party for the very things Burns himself cared about: friendship, a good laugh, community, and that common thread of humanity that connects every single one of us, no matter where we're from.
And if there's one line that sums up his entire philosophy, it's this one: "A man's a man for all that," is basically a declaration of independence for the human spirit. He's saying that a person's real value has nothing to do with their money or their title. It's about who they are inside. Back in the super rigid world of the 18th century, that wasn't just a nice thought, it was radical. And it's just as important today. Which brings it all back to that little cottage and those 9 friends who just refused to let a great voice fade away. It makes you think, doesn't it? What are our traditions? What stories do we tell, and what rituals do we keep to make sure that the people and the ideas that we love keep on living long after they're gone?